A young woman is abducted from a payphone while talking to her fiancé just 7 blocks away. She was 4 months pregnant at the time of her disappearance. Angela Hammond was born on February 9th, 1971. Angela was 20 years old and a very popular young woman who lived in Clinton, Missouri. She worked at a bank and took classes at Central Missouri State University. In January 1991, Rob Schaefer, an athlete who planned to be in the military, gave her a diamond engagement ring and promised to always take care of her. At around 10 p.m. on April 4th, 1991, she dropped him off at his house after a barbecue and said that she would call him in a few hours. According to Rob, that was about 10 o'clock. I was going to meet her back uptown as soon as my mom got home. I was watching my little brother at the time, and she called later on that night. Angela had spent some time with her friend Kayla. At 11:15 p.m. she called Rob from a payphone at the intersection of Jefferson and 2nd Street, 7 blocks away from his house. While talking to him, she had noticed a suspicious man circle the block several times in a green Ford pickup truck. According to Rob, she said it was an older green Ford pickup truck. Angela was unconcerned until he parked beside her. Rob said he used the phone next to her, got back in his truck and looked at something with his flashlight. She described the flashlight to me over the phone. He was looking for something. I had asked her to ask him if he needed to use the phone, because maybe the other phone was broken. And he said no, he'd try again in a minute. Then we just talked about other things. We weren't too worried about it, and that's when I heard her scream. The only thing that went through my mind was getting up there and finding out what the hell was going on. I just dropped the phone and ran out of the house. I didn't hang the phone back up. I just headed up there. He drove towards the payphone, hoping to find and help Angela. As the abductor's truck sped past him in the opposite direction, he heard her yell out to him. He said, "Someone yelled out the window, 'Robbie!' That's how I knew it was them." He then threw his car in reverse, unknowingly damaging the transmission. He followed the truck for 2 miles before the transmission failed as he made a sharp right turn. He said, "It started dying as I was making my right turn. The guy had turned off to the right. All I saw was his brake lights and then dust. Unfortunately, the truck drove away and was never seen again." Marsha Cook, Angela's mother, said, "Rob blamed himself for it because he always told her he'd be there to take care of her, and he tried. He did everything that he could do. Nobody blames him, but I think he thinks that people do." Rob said that he thinks of that night a lot. "The beginning is the hardest because you know you were so close to get him, but you just didn't get the job done. And you still wake up at night wondering where she's at, wondering what happened, wondering if anybody's still looking. You're just wondering all the time." Angela's kidnapping was a shock to the whole town. An extensive search began for Angela, the abductor, and the truck. The Missouri State Highway Patrol checked hundreds of trucks matching the description, but they were all ruled out. Detective Damon Parsons of the Clinton Police Department said, "We had some assistance from the Missouri State Highway Patrol that did a computer search on all registered vehicles. Through their help, we had 1,600 possibilities that we had to check as far as color and whether they had any mural in the back window." With only a few leads in this case, investigators started to doubt and questioned Rob's story. But Marsha said she never suspected him. She said, "I think it was natural that people wondered. But my feeling was, I've known this kid all his life and I never doubted for a minute that he had anything to do with it." At first, not many witnesses were found to corroborate his account. A polygraph examination on him indicated that he was telling the truth. 2 witnesses later came forward seeing a truck and a suspicious person around the payphones between 11:30 and 11:45 p.m., shortly before Angela's disappearance. And within that week, Rob was cleared. After he was cleared, the abductor was described as a filthy Caucasian man with glasses, a beard, and a moustache. He was also wearing overalls, and further details of the truck was that it was a late 60s to 70s model, 2-tone green Ford pickup truck with a mural of a fish jumping out of water on the back window. Serial killer Kenneth McDuff was looked at as a suspect due to his killing spree from 1966 to 1992, but he was never officially linked to this case. 2 days later, Angela's abduction was connected to 2 other unsolved cases within a 100-mile radius. The first occurred 3 months earlier near Max Creek, Missouri. On January 19, 1991, 42-year-old convenience store worker Trudy Darby called her son to report a suspicious man lurking outside. Less than 10 minutes later, her son arrived at the store and found it empty. 2 days later, her body was found on a riverbank 10 miles from the store. She had been raped and shot twice in the head. The other case involved 31-year-old Cheryl Kenny, another convenience store worker in Nevada, Missouri, which is 70 miles from Max Creek. She vanished after locking up her store on the night of February 27th. Her car was found abandoned in the store parking lot, and it is believed that she was also kidnapped. Angela was then abducted just a month later. Detective Damon said if Angela is found, it might provide a link that relates to, for example, Trudy Darby, or if Cheryl's found, maybe that will be a connection to Trudy and how she was murdered. Trudy's case was eventually solved with the convictions of half-brothers Jesse Rush and Marvin Chaney. As for Angela and Cheryl, they still remain unsolved. However, investigators do believe that the half-brothers were involved, but they were never charged. A rumor came around the town suggesting that Angela was murdered and then thrown into a well in the old Artesian Park in Clinton, Missouri, close to the site of a very old water ride, but it is unknown if this was ever checked. Authorities feared that a serial killer may be on the loose in west central Missouri. Even though they held out little hope that either Angela or Cheryl are alive, there have been unconfirmed sightings of Angela in several states and most recently Canada. Her mother just wants some answers as to what happened. She said, "If anybody out there sees anything, if they could put themselves in our place and know how we feel and how heart-wrenching it is that she was taken. Even if the guy that took her sees this, if he could just call and let us know what he did with her." An update came in April 21st on the 30th anniversary of her disappearance, new details that were provided to the public. Investigators had worked out a theory that Angela had been mistaken for another woman who was the target in the aftermath of her father's legal affairs. The abductor had acted as an informant in a narcotics case and received a letter threatening the life of his daughter, who was also named Angela. This letter was sent on the very evening Angela was abducted on April 4, 1991. The letter said, "Hello, we know who you are. People like you deserve what you get. We know where your foxy daughter is at. She will soon see us. Tell your wife she has our deepest sympathies in her further loss. Goodbye." Certain parts of that was redacted. Authorities believe that due to the similar names and appearances, the two women were mixed up and Angela was mistakenly kidnapped. They also received an anonymous call from someone who may have had some information for this case. The caller spoke of details that were only in the letter, and they are hoping that the caller will call back at some point. As of April 2021, this theory is still being investigated and a reward is being offered for leads in this case. Sadly, Angela's mother, Marsha Cook, passed away in May 2021 without ever finding her daughter's abductor or any of her remains. Do let me know what you think of this case down in the comments and what you think happened to Angela, and I'll see you for the next video.